I just thought that would be really creepy. Okay, so this is strange. Has nothing to do with any of the videos that I've ever done, but I want to try to do a quick 11 tips for writing a paper. Specifically an essay, like a college like entrance, these classes, a college like entrance. I was trying to look smart. College entrance essay specifically. The reason what made me want to do this is because I realized that like I just wrote a paper for, or not wrote it, but I just like helped my friend write a paper for this program she was trying to get into. I just helped my brother with his college paper, and I have helped an older gentleman write a proposal for a company he was like. I realized I was helping people with like papers, and I was like, maybe I know a little something about like tips for like papers. So here goes 11, because that's how many I could think of. Okay, number one, without further ado, number one is outline, brainstorm, and flesh out what you want to say. So don't be afraid to start just rambling, writing stuff down. You know, your ideas, think of the question or whatever the prompt is, and just like start rambling. Whether you do it in like a piece, just like, you know, linear, just rambling, or whether you do like, you know, figure out what the piece is trying to say and then make a little umbrella and then think of everything that's related to that, whether it be like little notes about anecdotes, little notes about, you know what I mean, things that you want to, quotes that you want to use, definitions you want to use, like anything that you can possibly think of, like just like in short form, just like get it out. Get all your ideas out. As soon as they start coming, just get them out. Flesh it out. Exactly what you're trying to say. That to me is before you start making an actual draft, like to me, you have to brainstorm. Like don't be afraid to just have a piece of paper with a bunch of random crap on it. Two, oh no, as a part of one I was supposed to say, as a part of one I was supposed to say, think of it as a puzzle piece. I used to actually edit documentaries, and it's really cool because it's kind of a similar thing. You have a documentary, you know what the piece, the whole, you know what it wants to say. You have all this content, you know what I mean? You have all this footage, and it's up to you to like lay the pieces in a way that like makes sense, that gets your major like point across. Everything that you say should be getting your major point across. So, you know, at this stage, and I'm talking about brainstorming, it would be looking at the content that you have. You know what I mean? Like seeing everything that you have and laying it out. So when you edit a movie or anything, you have to sit there and look at all your footage. Documentary, you need to look at all your footage. So that brainstorming is that stage. Look at all your footage. Know your content. Look at all the stuff that's in your head about this topic, and look at it, and then you can start doing eliminating what doesn't go, what does fit in, whatever, but get it all out first, okay? Two, this is a part of like eliminating. Answer the question. Start a draft, an actual draft, where you actually answer the question. People like go off on rants, start writing a resume, start writing like, you know what I mean? Answer the question. Every paragraph that you have needs to be answering their question specifically, or leading up to it, like a part of like answering the question, or in all aspects of the question too. Don't like leave out, like answer the whole question that they ask you. If it's, you know, why did you choose to go here, and how do you plan on like you know, utilizing our values in your day-to-day life, whatever. Answer the whole question. Like, don't be like, oh, I don't feel like answer the day-to-day part. I'm just going to answer, like, what, you know, why I want to go there. Answer the whole thing. But don't ramble, which I'm doing right now. Don't ramble. Like, don't, like, just start going off talking about stuff. Everything that's just in a good movie, there is no, that's why I hate, this is a aside, but I hate love stories in movies that don't need a love story. Like, don't add stuff just to add stuff. Don't do that. Like, if it doesn't contribute to your point, if it doesn't contribute to what you're trying to, like, the main point of what you're trying to say, then don't add it. Like, unless you can find a way to, like, sneak it in like, a one-sentence way and be clever, which is possible, to be clever and sneak what you want to say in. But, like, unless it's adding, then don't just be talking to talk like I'm doing right now. 3, bow tie. That's what I put, like a present to a stranger. Okay, so not only a documentary is an interesting way to think about a paper, but also a present. I like to think of it as a gift that you're giving a stranger. If you give a gift to your friend and it's like a really awesome gift, but it's in crappy paper, they might get it because they know you. If you give a really crappy present, but it's in like spectacular, immaculate wrapping, your friend might get it. This is not your friend. This is a gift to somebody that you want for it to say really good things about you and represent you, and they can't see you. They only see this gift. So that means the wrapping needs to be good, the content needs to be good, and you need to finish it off with a bow. And what I mean by that is that whatever you explain in the beginning of your paragraph, like whatever, set it off, they'll jump right into it. Like whatever is going to be the main theme and focus of what your piece is trying to say needs to come full circle. You need to like wrap that bitch with a bow at the end of it, like bam. Like, did you see that? Did you just see all that perfect, like, can you tell I'm a dork? Because I would write a paper and be really excited about it. Anyway, okay, so 4 drafts. Don't be scared of drafts. You should do at least 3 drafts. You should do a brainstorming draft. I don't understand people who write papers and they just write a paper. Like, dude, unless you are the bomb and really just like can do, like, have your grammatical everything on point, you know what I'm saying? You need at least 3 drafts. You need that brainstorming draft. You need that, I suggest, a paper draft, like a handwritten draft. Then you need to put it on the computer, and then you'll actually, like, you know, get to organizing better in that draft. And then you need a last draft where which usually is just tweaking the second draft, where you need to go through. And by that time, you should know your paper by heart. That if somebody was to secretly swap out a word, you would be like, that's not the word that was in it. You need to know your paper by heart by the 3rd draft or the 4th draft, whatever you want. So that you can really see grammatical errors and spelling errors. And, you know, sometimes you can't rely on spell check. Sometimes spell check will, like, check something right, but it's not what you were trying to say. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be like, oh, you spelled it right, but it was the wrong word. You know what I mean? So you need to be, like, thorough. I think I just did one of my numbers. Anyway, another thing I'll put in 4 is to err on the side of cheesy, which sounds weird, but my teachers used to love me, you know, in my papers. They loved me. And the reason why they loved me is because I wasn't afraid to, like, go there, dude. Like, I'd be kind of, not cheesy, but I'd be kind of cheesy. I'd err on the side of cheese. Like, just a little bit of cheese. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's making any sense. Like, don't be afraid to, like, be like, oh, I'm not going to say that because that sounds too, like, you know, proper or too, like, philosophical and metaphysical or, like, out there. Be out there. They love it. They eat it up. They love it. They're like, oh, yeah, okay. As long as you know what you're talking about and you make a sense and you're being accurate, then it's all good. Like, you can just totally, like, you know, use big words. Do it. Do it. Don't be verbose for no reason. But if everything is driving to your point and everything is, like, bringing it home and a part of that, like, wrapping and a part of that content, you kind of have free reign to do whatever, which goes to my next point, which is still a part of 4, but it's have personality, but be careful. So have personality. Don't be afraid to, like, you know, as long as you grammatically are doing it correct, don't be afraid to, like, you know, say no pun intended, or be afraid to say, you know, to make a joke inside of it, or, you know, as long as it is correct. And like I said, going to the theme, people, they read these things like crazy. They have to read a whole bunch of them. Don't be afraid to, like, kind of say something that's a little, like, you know, like a little quirky, a little, like, you know, I don't know how, like, dorky. You know, that's what, but I put it in the same thing as err on the side of cheese, because sometimes it's like I wouldn't necessarily say that to my best friend in real life, or maybe you would. Maybe you have those type of conversations. Think Big Bang Theory. Think about the jokes that happen in Big Bang Theory. If you watch that show, they're good jokes. Like, sometimes he says stuff and it's like, you know what I mean? It's funny. Use that type of, like, that type of comedy. You know what I mean? That's smart comedy. Don't be a douche. Don't use curse words. Don't, like, you know, think you're talking to your friend on the corner, because you're not. You know what I mean? But, you know, don't be afraid to have some personality in there, and have some exclamation points, have some, you know what I mean, have ellipses, have, like, you know what I mean, pause it, you know what I mean, like, have a flow to it. Don't be afraid to make it, like, you know, make it sweet. Damn, I'm such a dork. Anyway, 5, this is kind of just about organization. First paragraph setup. Think of that as the wrapping paper, okay? You got a Palm Pilot in your thing, and then you're going to use Barbie wrapping paper. No. You know what I mean? Like, you use the wrapping paper that reflects the content. What I mean is that first paragraph is setting you up. That first paragraph is like, look, this is the tone of my piece. I got an opener that's like black. I'm gonna catch your attention right away because my opening is like, something to kind of think about. It's like, a quote, like I said, a definition, a like sentence, an anecdote, like something that like kind of brings them in and makes your paper different than other people. Also, don't be afraid to, which is another documentary tip, answer the question or pose the question in your answer. You know what I mean? Like when you're ready to dive into what you're about to say, don't be afraid to say, if the question is, how do you think you're going to blah, 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 say, I think that I'm going to blah, 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 but I did it. Like, let them know, I'm answering your question right here. You know what I mean? Like, this is what the whole paper is saying, is that, like, this is, everything after that sentence is going to be, like, adding, I saw this one thing that was saying, use examples. Like everything that's going to be after that is going to be me giving examples of like supporting what I just said in this first paragraph, like setting it up, and then I'll make it real pretty in the last one and like blow that bitch up. Anyway, okay, 6 is be thorough. I'm trying to think about going in the list of like the process. So 6 is be thorough and checking. Verify sources. Don't wing it. Like, don't like see something and be like, I think this is who said that. Look it up. Don't be like, oh, I think this is how you spell that. Or I think this happened in 1865. Don't do that. Get it right. Be accurate. Use words correctly. If there's a word that you're like, I think that's how I use it. My grandma used to use it that way, but I'm not sure. Look it up. Make sure that you're using the words right, because another documentary editing thing that I learned is that your piece is only as good as your worst mistake. So you can have a flawless piece, and if you fuck up at one point, then your piece is as good as that fuck up. You know what I'm saying? So you can have a beautiful piece, and then you spell something wrong, and it's like, boo. You lost me because you spelled this wrong. You know what I mean? Like, don't lose them. Make the piece and like thoroughly check that. Check it. Okay, 7. Have someone else check it. Have someone else look over it. You're a human. You make mistakes. You miss stuff. I don't know how many times I sent a text and I think I went over the text 3 times, and then I read the text after I sent the text and I realized that I said here H-E-A-R when I meant to say H-E-R-E. And I'm like, you idiot. Now this person's going to think you're dumb. You know what I mean? Whatever. Just, you know what I mean? Whatever. And a part of that, don't use any of the like, I hope this goes without saying, but like write out people, don't put PPL, don't put a LOL, don't put acronyms unless it is a company or organization and they use that acronym, and even if so, in parentheses, spell out the fucking acronym, just so, unless it's something that's like, spell it out. You don't have to do it each time you use it, but spell it out the first time. Write it out the first time. So none of that, please, none of that at all, and not even a little bit, none of that. Unless your piece is about like how you're trying to stop using those, and you're trying to be funny, and you like use it and then you bow tie it at the end with like a laugh out loud, like you say it out loud, you know what I mean? You spell it out, like, you know what I mean? There's ways to be clever, but unless you're being clever, then don't do it. Okay, it's getting long. 8, have a clean document. Ooh. Have your document look pretty. Like, not only does it need to like be like concise and like organization be on point, and because you did the outline in the beginning, you know exactly what you're saying when you're saying it, it also should look pretty. Like, don't have, like, check your font, check your sometimes people have stuff in their font is changed at one point. Make sure that you highlight that whole thing that's supposed to be the body, except the title, but highlight the whole thing, and it should like have up at the top like the same. It shouldn't go black. Like, it shouldn't be like empty where it says font, or empty where it's, because that means there's multiple fonts in there. You know what I mean? Like, it should say 12 or 11 if you're trying to be like me, and I usually try to get more, unless they specify that you need to use 12. I'm a fan of 1.5 actually spacing, but some places require like, I think that's a little more loose. I double spacing, I feel like gives me not enough room, because then I'm gonna have them 3 pages long, and I don't want 3 pages long. I think 1.5 spacing and 11 to 12 font can have it look pretty, but make sure you have it justified. You know what I mean? If you don't understand all this stuff, ask your mom, hopefully, because where I come from back in the day, the older people that started doing secretarial stuff, they know all about the indent. Don't be hitting space bar when you need to be hitting a tab, like, you know what I mean? Like, they know all that. So don't be scared to use. I feel like we lost that in our generation. Don't be, and generations that came after me, don't be afraid to have somebody like go over who knows that stuff. Have it look pretty. You know what I mean? If you're sitting it, electronically and they don't have like an actual like format to upload it or whatever, I always like to save stuff as PDFs, because PDFs stay the way they are and they can be read by, and they can come up in preview, they can come up in whatever, no matter who computer. If you do a document like I have a Chromebook, if I do a doc, Microsoft Word doc, it's gonna come up as docx on my thing, and the formatting might not be exactly the same. I open it in Google Chrome, or the format's not gonna be the same. So PDFs, the way you can do a PDF, I'm going off a tangent, but like go act like you're gonna print. Act like you print. Control P. Act like you're gonna print, and then in the corner it usually says save as a PDF. Be like, yeah, save as a PDF. Bam, you just saved it as a PDF. Okay. Or there's probably an easy way where you just go edit and save as a PDF. Whatever. I'm just saying that's how I do it sometimes. Control P and then save as a PDF. That went far with that one. Where am I? 8. Have a clean jacket. Oh, and don't go over the word count. Like, that goes along with that. Make sure that if they say this, do that. Don't, if they say two pages, don't do 2.5. Do exactly what they say. Because they take that as like, it's like offensive, kind of. Same thing with like if you're writing to a job and they say put the subject line, put the title in the subject line. Do it. Because I, once, another aside, used to work at a job where I used to actually, like, not HR, but I would look at people's stuff and I wouldn't even open your shit if the basic requirements and the questions asked weren't, you know, if I said please do this and you didn't do it, delete. I didn't even look at your resume. So, listen. 9. I'm almost done. 9. When you have, and this goes for any type of writing, when you have a burst of creativity and you say it laying there and you're like playing on the phone or listening to Netflix and you have a burst of like creativity, you start thinking about shit, you start being like, oh, I can say this or this could be, don't sit on that. Start writing on whatever. Start writing, because what's gonna happen is you're gonna lose it and you're gonna try to remember it, and then you're gonna like make a, you know, resemblance of what thing that you had when it was on point when you had it. And then you're like, fuck, I can't remember exactly, but I know it was something like this. Don't do it. Write it when you got it. Take advantage of those bursts of energy and creativity when they come, because that's how writing is. You know, as I write poems and, you know, short stories, and like when you get it, just go for it. Variety in words, number 10. I can't stress this enough. It is very boring when you use the same words over and over again in a piece. Do not open the paragraphs with, you know, I believe. I think you can maybe get away with like two I believes, but technically it's redundant because it's an essay, and an essay is all about what you believe, so you really shouldn't even be putting I believe. But let's say, unless you're saying it to say, as opposed to believing something else, you're saying I believe, then just, you know what I mean? Practically, basically, all those words that kind of don't mean shit, you know what I mean? Like, be scarce with those, and definitely don't use the same ones. You know what I mean? Like, if you're using the word however, have it be appropriately however. Like, don't just add however because it sounds good. Like, say however because you're saying it as like, despite this, you know, like, however, I feel this way. Like, there's a difference, you know, a comparison happening. So just variety in words. Make sure you're not using the same things. It's hard not to do that sometimes when they ask you a particular question. You want to keep reiterating the question, but do it in a different way. Say it differently. Go to the thesaurus and like look at some synonyms and just like rock it out. Say it differently. Number 11. Jeez, this is long. Be humble. Be honest. And have integrity in your work. That's pretty simple. You know what I mean? Be humble. Don't have your piece be like, you know, excuse my French, a dick sucking essay. Like, don't have your piece be like, I'm the bomb because of this. If you are the bomb, then everything that's gonna be there is gonna show it. And what you should do is to be humble and be modest. Is actually say what you learned from it, or who was, you know, what you took away from that made you better, or what, you know what I mean? Like, say like, humble yourself in it. What you learned. What you didn't do and now you know how to do, or who, you know, just don't make it seem like I'm awesome because I'm awesome and I did this, and did this because I'm a fucking rock star. Like, no, nobody wants to read that. Like, they want to know you're a rock star, but they also want to know that you're going to get along with your teachers, you're going to get along with the students, you're going to mesh well in the community, and you're going to be like a healthy like part of the environment, and they don't want a dickhead. You know what I mean? Unless maybe you're going to a school that's like full of dickheads. That's possible. You could be going to a school that's very like competitive and they want you to be really competitive. But even then, be competitive. Don't be an ass. No excuses. Never ever in an interview, in an essay, talking to anybody. Excuses in general are just kind of some bitch ass shit. Don't feel the need to be like, oh, I didn't do this because I didn't do this. If there's something that you want to add that requires you to add a excuse, omit that bitch. Like, don't use it, because obviously don't use it if you had to use an excuse to explain why you didn't like further it along or something. Don't do it. Just have integrity, you know? Be a badass. Be confident. Only show stuff that's reflective of the good you. You know, show stuff that's the you that you want to be, and how being at that university is going to get you closer to where you want to be, and you see them as an integral part of that process. Does that make any sense? I like to write papers. Matter of fact, I'm going to put this out there. If you have a paper, and it's not too long, because I do work. If you have a paper, and it's like 2 pages or something, and you want me to look it over, I will look it over and give you some tips on what I think. I'm not nobody, you know what I mean? But just give you some tips. If you like what I said here and you think that like I might be able to give you some pointers, I'd love to give you some pointers on things that I think. And I'm not a douche, so I won't be like, oh, this is wrong. I'm not like that. I'll be like, maybe you can do this, or like try to look at this, or see if like, whatever. I'll try to help out. So let me know. I'll give you my like email, and you can send it to me. This could be cool. I could be like a virtual tutor. No, I'm retarded. Anyway, yeah, hope this was helpful. I don't know, this isn't about hair. This isn't about anything that like whatever, but like I said, I've been editing stuff, and somebody just my brother actually was like, you should do a video. And I was like, my brother's awesome. I was like, okay, he's cute. He's 20. So I don't know whether you ladies, Anyway, all right, that's it. Love you. Happy writing.